Hey there. Welcome back to Immortal Unchained.
Do you hear me? Connection established. It appears that the pathway between the core and your position is stable. All gateways allow you free return to the Grand Hall. Transmission stability will vary. Our communication will be only intermittent. Welcome to the primordial realm, the only one that still remains open. It is void of life, but not death. Find the Nexus Orb. Take heed where you tread.
Speaking of treading, you wouldn't happen to know where to find some shoes, would you? Here in Arden, Scar of the Abyss. The cradle of unlife, unsought destination for all mortal souls. The realm of death was carved into the bowels of an abandoned world by the Queen of the Dead herself. Yikes. Well, this Queen of the Dead sounds like a very fascinating individual. I would like to get to know her a lot more intimately. And I don't mean intimately in the way that people normally mean intimately. I mean intimately from about, I don't know, arm's distance away, with high caliber assault rifles, maybe a couple grenades. That kind of intimately. Although I don't know if you can really kill that which is already dead, so that might be a problem that we'll encounter along the way. Yes, welcome to Hell, essentially. The land for wayfaring souls who lose their way and get repurposed into the undead army. Very much looking forward to thinning their numbers a little bit. Speaking of numbers, time for some inventory management. We picked up a shotgun, which we're going to take a look at. Now, we're not actually going to use it right now, though, because we've got this Ranger's pistol that we picked up during the tutorial area that I would much rather use because it has a different damage type. And, you know, I mean, we might as well show off different damage types, trademark. This is an RPG-type video game, so of course physical damage isn't all you got to work with. There's a number of different types of damage we can deal in this game, with energy being the equivalent of magic damage. So we'll equip this Ranger's pistol after leveling up our perception so that we can actually use the dang thing. And we'll get a move on with some firepower that's much more attuned to normal difficulty areas instead of tutorial areas like our prison guard pistol. We'll deal with the shotgun a little bit later. Oh ho! Hi there. You look lost.
Your flesh does not rot. You are not of the abyss, are you? Be careful. Delve too deeply into the darkness and you will become a part of it for the rest of your days and beyond.
I don't plan on it.
I am no one. I carry no memories of anything before this nightmare.
Well, that's a bummer.
If you fall into her claws, you lose yourself. Something is wrong, though. Something has changed. I would never have been able to escape like this before. It is worrying, yet it is my salvation.
Huh.
If you are wise, then stay off this path. Never will I return, not in this life nor the next.
Well, unfortunately, Bren, this is our quest, and so we must accomplish it. Although, if you travel just down the way, you'll find a portal back to safety. I assume you'll be able to use it. I don't know if that portal is relegated to Unchained Immortals only, but if normal humans can use it too, then you're in luck. Safety is only a few yards away. A primordial realm of ice and death, Arden is desolate and unforgiving. The dead have settled where no one else could. Once chillingly beautiful, this world is home now only to misery. And boy ain't that the truth, as we will find out moving forward. Arden is a little bit more hostile, even than the tutorial was, because this is, again, the home world of the Queen of the Dead. This is her fortress. This is where these soldiers are made in the first place. And so, we're going to need to upgrade our firepower just a little bit if we hope to survive. Hence, the Ranger Pistol. The Ranger Pistol uses energy damage, which is basically the equivalent of generic magic damage in this game. There are a number of elements like fire, acid, frost, all of which do varying types of damage to various types of defenses. But energy is basically energy is basically your bread and butter. It is the damage type that you use if you don't want to go physical, but also don't want to go all in on either enemies resisting or being weak to the weapons that you bring with you. And right now that's a good idea, because we only have 2 weapon slots. So if enemies are strong to both things that we're carrying, we're kind of screwed. Hence, bringing along a physical weapon and an energy weapon. This character's not spec'd out for elemental damage just yet. In fact, she's not. Cyber Jacobs is not currently spec'd out for anything in particular, but being a jack of all trades isn't so bad in this game. In fact, I would say that it's probably one of the better ways to play it. Gives you a lot of accessibility. You know, flexibility for varying situations like, I don't know, enemies cowering behind shields like big old losers. What have we here? Banished and alone, the chaos of war replaced by the stillness of solitude. Lost in a labyrinth of darkness, she found death her only escape. So this is a new type of collectible. There isn't one of these in the tutorial area that I'm aware of. Forlorn idols tell little sentence parables of the various characters in Immortal Unchained. There's one for everybody we're going to meet along the way, including ourselves. Hey, there's one for us. But we're not going to find that for quite a while. Hopefully it'll shed some light on what the hell we're doing here, who the hell we are. But Aris said that our memory would come back with time, so let's hope that he's right. That particular forlorn idol is about the Queen of the Dead. There are a couple about her. She gets a good amount of characterization indirectly over the course of the game. Like I said, we're going to get to know her quite intimately before this is over. Oh boy. Whew. So you have iframes in this game. Your invincibility frames during your dodge last until, I don't know, they last from just about the start of the animation. There are a couple of frames where you're still vulnerable, which is kind of annoying, but I'll touch on that in depth later. Couple of frames where you're still vulnerable, followed by being completely invincible to all damage until your character hits the floor. Yeah, we'll talk about locked doors later. That's a whole separate issue. For now, though, seems my wish for some shoes has been fulfilled, because we got an armor shrine here. One thing I like about the armor shrines in this game is that they physically change your character's appearance. It's kind of neat. The different types of armor shrines give you different changes to your appearance, which is kind of cool. You know, when we pick up grenade pouches, we'll get more grenades on our pouch and all that stuff. The original undead were constructed from the remains of lost explorers. These reanimated souls formed the Home Guard, the first legion in the army of the dead. Fiercely loyal to their queen, they've defended her realms ever since. Well, I guess it's kind of telling how long the Queen of the Dead and her army has been around, considering there was one such home guard in the prison where we were being kept. And I mean, supposedly, according to the lore we found, the prison is inescapable. In fact, the only reason we were able to get out is because Aris opened up all the cells, which in hindsight doesn't really seem like the best idea, considering now we know the kind of stuff that was being cooped up in there. But it was his decision, I guess. He's an adult, a cyber adult, so I guess now we have to live with his choices. Hopefully the folks in the prison don't make their way to the core, because that would be bad. We're about to pick up an armor dye here. Armor dyes are cosmetic changes you can make to your armor. They're not permanent or consumed when you use them, but we're not going to do that right now because we're not actually wearing any armor that can be dyed. There are a number of different ways to customize your armor's appearance in this game, which is kind of cool. But we have to pick up a couple more items before we can really make Cyber Jacobs be our own. Also, I'm out of ammo for my sniper rifle. So let's go with the tried and true method of shooting enemies in the back like a coward. Those big guys are especially dangerous. Their bullets move slow, but if you get caught up in a big hailstorm of them, you're not going to have a good time. I feel like this game has a good balance of the damage that each individual bullet does, along with how many bullets enemies fire in one burst. Of course, the damage is affected by our defense, but overall, I feel like they have a good difficulty progression when it comes to your health versus enemy damage. Although some enemies are better than others in that way, which you will see soon. So headshots do more damage than shots to the torso or the limbs. Technically speaking, every enemy has two weak points. You can either run around and shoot them in the back, or if you don't feel like doing that, you can just shoot them in the head from the front. Most of the time, when it's safe to... holy crap, I turned that guy into just chunks. He fell apart like he was made of paper mache. Anyway... generally speaking, I'll try to go for shots in the back, unless I'm on like a thin walkway like this, in which case I'll just shoot him in the head. It works too. If you're trying to save on ammo though, dodging around and going for the back is definitely the better option. I really like the looks of this place. It's got a cool, like, almost H.R. Giger vibe to it. Less phallic imagery, I guess, but it's got the same basic idea of pipes and metal slats and big brutalist steel. It's very oppressive. It's a very, very oppressive surroundings. And hey, look, we found our first obelisk. Technically the second, but this one is attached to a shortcut, so I count it with a little bit more, weight in my mind, I guess? Guess that's what I would call it. And like I said in the last episode, I have added the timeout bar to the top of the screen, so if you want to skip any of the inventory management for whatever reason, I'm not going to be talking much during it anyway. Just skip ahead till the bar runs out. It seems mass production is the name of the game with the Queen of the Dead. Cheap, easy, and cannon fodder. Weapons like the Cloud Dancer's Enforcers here are dual-wielded, which makes them pretty fun. And there you have it. It turns out that the Queen of the Dead is, environmentally friendly, I guess. Recycle and reuse, that's the name of the game. Now the Cloud Dancer's Enforcers are pretty cool, and I kind of want to show off dual-wielded weapons. So we're going to start down the path of unlocking those by upgrading our agility. Agility, of course, is a pretty good stat for, it's a pretty good stat for fast-moving characters who dodge around a lot. We definitely want to increase our dodge distance and speed. For now, though, we don't have many bits to go around, so let's be economical and upgrade our weapons a little. Weapon upgrades directly affect a number of stats, like the amount of stability damage it does to enemies' limbs, just the raw damage, and the general effectiveness in all areas. Whenever you have the extra parts to upgrade stuff with, it's definitely worth it, even if you're only using the weapon for a little while. Weapons in this game have very good scaling. We're going to use an advanced scavenger kit here to increase the number of bits that we get from the enemies in this area. Advanced scavenger kits are pretty rare in the early game. However, I'm kind of power gaming a little bit here as we go to town with our dual revolvers like a big, cool badass. I'm power gaming a little bit here because here at the beginning, we need the bits to level up quite a bit more than we will when we eventually have a ton of scavenger kits to go around. So I'm going to be trying to use them as we pick them up, just to stay ahead of the leveling curve a little bit, because let's just say that the game eventually kind of pushes you to specialize. I will say that Immortal Unchained is more friendly to generic, just general character builds than a game like, say, I don't know, game like, say, that certain DS game. It's Dark Souls. The game is Dark Souls. The joke ran out at the end of the first episode. I guess I'll just talk about Dark Souls. Immortal Unchained is similar to Souls in a lot of different ways, but one way that it varies, I think, is that it's a lot more friendly to just leveling up and being a jack of all trades, really. You don't suffer for not specializing, and that's something that I very, very much appreciate. And I feel like this area here is a good way to exemplify that. By this point, as any starting class, you will have picked up at least one of most of the weapon types. There are a couple more that we will see in the second major area, but for now, you've seen pretty much all we have available to us at the moment. And what I find interesting about that is that this area specifically has a lot of tighter enclosed spaces, but in general, it is a big, tall, open area with enemies on multiple levels, allowing you to kind of get a feel for the weapons you've decided to use. I feel like the enemy and encounter design in this game is quite strong, because they don't ever really present situations that only specific character classes and types can handle. There's no equipment checks, there's no Capra Demon in this game, to cite a more infamous example. Which I think was smart, but also it had to take a lot of thought. Got our first submachine guns here, for example. Submachine guns are not the best in this game, unfortunately. I think at some point in the future they will probably be buffed to be a little bit more powerful, because right now they lag behind everything in raw damage, but boy can you carry around a lot of ammo. As for Cyber Jacobs here, I kind of have the home field advantage when it comes to this area. Cyber Jacobs, of course, specializing in sniper rifles, means that I can take out these enemies before getting on the same level as them and then just kind of traverse around freely, which is on purpose. I made the conscious decision to pick sniper rifles for this, because sniper rifles don't have a lot of primary ammo, so that's going to basically force me to rely on my secondaries, which again gives me a good balance of speccing into something that will pay off later in spades, and also different weapons we can pick. Young and unspoiled, Iska enjoyed life. Together with her father and brothers, she was happy for a time. Iska is the first, and I'm pretty sure only, name of the Queen of the Dead. So anytime we pick up a collectible referring to someone by the name of Iska, that's the Queen of the Dead's original name before she became, you know, the Queen of the Dead. The game rewards you a little bit for being sneaky. Interestingly, this is something I didn't actually expect going into it. I don't know why. I guess I just didn't expect the enemies to be this to be this advanced, but enemies have line of sight in this game, but they can also hear you. So if you just walk and sneak up from behind or from the sides, you can take enemies by surprise and get some nice easy shots on their back. Now, I don't know if there's even a single enemy in this game who doesn't have the backside as a weak spot. I'm pretty sure that is a completely universal design element. I honestly cannot think of even one. And who knows? We might find some along the way, but sneak attacks are quite useful. Not like we're going to get that many opportunities to do it outside of these big open areas where they've designated points for you to sneak around, but still, it's nice that they bothered. These big guys are a good introduction to the general core concept of sneaking around, or at least trying to dodge around once you aggro the enemy and make them angry at you. Because they don't take very much damage from the front. You can get away with maybe headshots, like if you plink away at them for a while, but they turn so slowly that you really can just run around and shoot them in the back without much trouble. That's your introduction, and it's a good one in my opinion. With the cold fire of worms extinguished, the first realm falls into decay. The unguarded archives of forgotten knowledge linger as a solemn reminder of the importance of this world. Yes, we're going to learn more about that as we go along, but believe it or not, this was not always the realm of the dead. There are 9-ish realms to be seen here in Immortal Unchained, and they are pretty much all discarded and dead by this point, but at some point in the past, some of them were thriving. So remember that thing I said earlier on in this very episode about how it is a bad idea to homogenize your weapon damage types? Well, you may notice that my weapon is doing literally 0 damage to this man. This guy is a big pain, and your introduction to elemental enemy types. This guy is almost completely immune to acid damage, and boy, he does a lot to you, doesn't he? As I think you can plainly see by my health bar. But I'm still out of ammo for my sniper rifle, so, yeah, maybe let's make a strategic retreat, shall we? I don't mean to be so matter-of-fact about it, because, you know, he's just gonna chase us. He's gonna keep chasing us and trying to murder me, but I would very much like to continue living on this earth. We've had a long and very prosperous life so far, and I'd like to keep going. There's no shame in it. We unlocked a shortcut back to the obelisk, and damn it, I'm gonna use it. If only for my continued survival. But yes, it is a bad idea to homogenize your damage types for exactly that reason. Shooting an enemy in the back overrides their damage type a little bit. Like you saw there that I was doing okay damage when I managed to hit him in the weak spot, but shooting him anywhere else did exactly nothing. It did nothing. And I don't really want to rely on melee attacks despite the bayonets on my revolvers, so maybe let's do this the smart way instead after picking up this armor shrine. Now this one, I don't know about this one. This one's weird. We got ourselves some pants at least, but there aren't very many enemies in this game that actually do fire damage, which I suppose is why they give it to you early. Because by the time you encounter enemies that do fire damage, it's kind of too late. But anyway, yeah, this guy, oh, he's such a pain. I don't even know what this enemy type is called, but they're a horrible nightmare. Just a nightmare. Thankfully, though, his head explodes real good just the same as anyone else's. I wonder what that guy did before he was a member of the undead army. Like, was he like... Maybe he was just a soldier. Maybe he was already a soldier and they made him like a double soldier. Here you go. Have some dual SMGs, because you could use even more firepower now that your life is over. And I suppose the concept of a soul exists in the realm of Immortal Unchained in some form, so that's got some unfortunate implications, doesn't it? Being able to take souls out of bodies and put them in these weird patchwork zombies. I wonder if these people had lives or if they were just soldiers. I don't know. Can't go that way. It's weird to think about. The idea of one having a soul, like your essence of you as a person, brain, body, heart, mind, everything, can be taken out of you and put into something else. And speaking of souls, time to do combat in the arena, I guess. Gotta get to that orb somehow. Well, hey! Speak of the home guard and they shall appear. So the home guard commander is the real first boss of this game. The big brother of the tutorial boss, essentially. Got a couple new moves and a slightly more dangerous arena, but he kind of screws himself with this laser attack. The laser attack is not particularly threatening. I mean, it is if it hits you, but I mean, did you see the wind-up? I like this boss, because again, this boss is another way that this game reinforces the whole shoot him in the back thing, by giving him a giant shield so that you can't damage him from the front even if you wanted to. After this, they ease off on it a little bit. They let you kind of... They kind of assume after this point that you get the idea. But for now, they kind of push it home pretty hard. So if you walk into these little green pits on the edges of the arena and random spots, you'll get grabbed by, I don't know, the screaming souls of the dead, given physical form. So you probably should stop that from happening because it immobilizes you and the guy can just take swings at you. But bad news for him, he should have protected his spine a little more. Alright then. We now have free access to Orb. And we got a grenade launcher for our trouble, which is good. Grenade launchers in this game are very, very good. And hey, look, one more bit of story. Dark beacons echo throughout the stream, a clarion call for the dead. At the gates of the abyss where lost souls gather, all are welcome. And I guess this is where they end up, huh? Probably not where they expected or where they wanted to be. I know I wouldn't want my soul conscripted into the army of the dead. But who knows, maybe there are some more willing folks out there to become the higher-ups. Hey there, Orb. How you doing? Tell me your secrets.
There was a brief flicker on this side. Were you able to restore the orb? Return to the core. Merge the connection with the monolith. Be wary should you gaze into its eye. It boils over with echoes of the past.
Well, I guess the good news about that is that they were very vague echoes of the past, but maybe they'll become more clear in time. Hopefully they were echoes of our past and not someone else's. That'd be kind of awkward. I wasn't going to make you watch me run all the way back. I'll be doing a little bit of curating from time to time, just to, you know, cut out any dead air where I don't really have anything to say. Now, we picked up a lot of stuff here, as you can see, but I'm going to explain the new stuff first. Aspects are, essentially rings, runes, that we can apply to our character that will give us various intrinsic bonuses. They all have slightly vague descriptions, but if you go into the menu, you can see what they do specifically. Some of them are slightly less vague than others. But one thing I kind of like is that if you don't really plan on using them, you can scrap them and get some upgrade materials from them, so it's always worth it to decode them even if you're satisfied with whatever you have now. Again, tertiary stuff like increasing our dodge speed or raw damage with weapons of a certain class. And now it's time to look at all this crazy amounts of new stuff we've been picking up. There's so much new equipment. Let's look at all of it. The Separatist's carbine has high requirements, but it's very well worth the investment. Good mid-level assault rifle. Meanwhile, the Jaded carbine is a good early-game assault rifle. It's the starting weapon of one of the other classes that we didn't pick, and it fires in 2-shot bursts. Quite useful. Grenade launchers are, again, very overpowered. Very much so, especially the Legion Hellcaster for how early you get it. But they require quite a bit of stat investment, so we're not going to see any of them for a long, long while. We're killing that acid guy. We got his weapon, so that's kind of neat. Let's take a look at that. And let me tell you, I can safely say that his acid rounds were in fact horrifying. But we're actually going to dump it, because I don't ever plan on using it now that we have the fire version. The Fire Sands Needlers. I can safely say that I'm glad that we don't have any fauna in real life who can shoot flames out of their mouths. Although they can certainly make you feel like you're on fire. Just not literal. The Home Guard shotgun is our very first, it's our very first frost weapon. Now, we have the Viridian shotgun, so we don't really need it, but if you want to go all in on elemental damage, frost weapons are a good choice early on because not a lot of enemies are strong to it. In fact, that holds up for almost the entire game. For now, though, we'll be sticking with the Fire Sands Needlers because they are a very good standby. Again, early on in the game, fire really lights enemies up. Fire, of course, is just a damage over time effect. That's the special effect that it holds. Each element, except for energy, has a tertiary effect that it applies when you shoot an enemy with it. Fire is just a damage over time, based on the enemy's defense. And now it's back we go. We've had our fun here in Arden, and there were a number of locked doors in our way. It seems Bren has left for better places, so we'll get our chance to talk to her in the next episode, and we'll be back to Arden later to explore paths that are yet unseen. I feel like Arden is a good introduction to the general mechanics of Immortal Unchained. They give you a good variety of weapons, items, and introduce you well to the concepts that we are going to need to make very good use of very extensively as we move forward into the second realm that we will be visiting, which we'll do next time. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you back in the core.